And
Welcome back, Peace.
Welcome back.
Natasha, I'm ready.
Okay, ladies, so our break is over. It's about 11 o'clock. Lucy will take us through our third module. As I said, and I'll keep on repeating, it is a build-up. So we've done building trust, we've done courageous leadership, and now we're doing art of communication. Something which I omitted and you should have is a soft copy of what we call our mentor's guide. Our mentor's guide is your truth line, basically. It is a guide that all mentors use. It is a guide that gives you the frameworks that we're going through today's session. It is a guide in which you will know the exercises that you're meant to do during the circles, during the preliminary, and the work that the mentees are need to do for the next session, right? So this is a very important book to have. I've had it since I joined in 2020. It is falling apart. I may need to get a new copy. It has so many pages which are stuck in and clipped in and short notes from different people that we interact with. But literally, this is your G4G Bible for more or less, but your document that you actually do need. It's available soft copy, and you can print and just do short notes. Lucy, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tasha. Yes, I have seen that book of yours, your hard copy. It is truly loved, and all the mentorship that you've given. Ladies, a very good morning, wherever it is you're calling in from. My name is Lucy Macridis, and I'm a certified transformational coach. And I'm here in G4G because my purpose is around helping women to get unstuck and get onto their true potential. And this is me choosing self-leadership. And therefore, I'm so aligned with G4G, a lesson that I've learned as a coach, that once you are aligned, it gets better and more seamless for you to reach your goals. And the spaces that I chose to align myself with are always dependent on my why. So it was lovely to see all of the circles having their name and then having their why. And some of you had your what, and that's amazing. So today I am talking about communication. And I can see that Miriam decided not to show my photograph on the screen. So, do I have it somewhere? I don't have it right now. However, you can see me. I'm just going to spotlight myself so that I can take you through our session. And can I spotlight myself there? Tasha, do you see me as spotlighted? Okay, I'll ask you, Caroline. Caroline, can you see me right in the middle of the screen? Thank you so much. This is communication. This is presence. Because when you're communicating, those are the questions that you're asking. What did I want? Okay, now she's putting it up. All right. What did I want to achieve here? I wanted to make sure that you understood the assignment. What am I here to do? Who am I? And how am I here to help you? Because communication is an amazing thing. It needs to be a continuous loop. You have a message that you are giving to your audience. How do you then know that your audience has received this message? This is key. So even as we are mentoring, we need to make sure that our mentees have understood what this module is about. Now, if we talk about this module in a certain way, we are linking it to where we've just come from, which is courageous leadership. Oh, there I am. You can see me now. But we actually don't need it anymore. You can take down those slides. I did that bit already. So let's take down the slides and just leave me right in the middle of the screen there so that I can deliver this session in a more powerful way where you're concentrating on me. Because in communication, you've got verbal and you've got non-verbal types of communication. You need to be seen as you're speaking. Now, the assignment that you had in Courageous Leadership that was leading you into Art of Communication was very clear. It was about creating a 2-minute speech. And this 2-minute speech is on a topic that you like. Now, I'm going to read off from the book as Tasha was explaining. This, maybe you can't see it because of the angle of my camera. But when I'm reading from Courageous Leadership, at the end, as a mentor, you will be saying in your circles, remember the circles you've just come out from? When you finish in Courageous Leadership Mentorship Circle, you will then be saying, prepare a 2-minute speech to present at the next session on a topic of your interest. Or imagine you have been invited to present a paper at a conference. So you're already guiding them and preparing them for the next session. What I have done in the past as a mentor and as a cohort lead, I've actually mentored in 6 cohorts and I have led 2 cohorts. So I have both aspects of the spectrum. So what I've done as a mentor before is once I have given this assignment, I ensure that in the circle conversation, because you got your WhatsApp groups, this is now what we continue doing, either through a poll, either through a recap or some stories. What have you done this week? We just keep the mentees engaged because I can assure you, once they leave this session, many other things are happening. We are women, we multitask. So at the end of the day, we might just lose the essence of this particular session. So continue this conversation on the WhatsApp groups. Now, the objective of this assignment ties into the art of communication so well because it helps the mentees with a framework. We're going to help them with a framework for communicating effectively in the public sphere. We have a guideline already. Once the mentees have joined, they actually filled out a baseline survey. So a baseline survey is asking them what are the things that they are desirous of, their goals. What are the things that they're afraid of? What is holding them back? Who is their role model? And more importantly, what is it that they want to pick from this G4G mentorship? So they've told us. We have found out from them. Therefore, we have to make sure that every time we are mentoring them, we are speaking to their needs or to their pain points. So these mentees are there for us to give them a framework in this art of communication. So in preparation for this module, there is a video and G4G gives a video. There are 5 videos and the art of communication is the second longest video. It's 15 minutes. Now that can be a lot. What do I do as a mentor? I ensure that when I receive it, I plug it in and I listen when I'm walking, when I'm driving, when I'm doing my chores around the house. I listen enough times. And guys, I'm saying I've done 6 cohorts. Every time I listen to these videos, I get a different perspective, the power of learning. So what can you do also in return? Share it in your circles so they can interact with it. Because once they interact with it, when they come into the session today, they're able to speak to what their learnings are as they have already continued with doing this 2-minute speech. And that is key. It is key. It helps you to ease on the learnings. Now, Professor McCarthy in this video talks about 3 pillars, and that's clarity, that is persuasion, and that's inspiration. So weave it in your feedback. We are helping the mentees with a framework. Remember, that is the objective of this session. So I have found that my why, when I'm asking them the why, my why also is key. Why am I here for Art of Communication? Because I've got a life beyond G4G. And then G4G aligns with me. So I need to make the same connection for my mentees. So it is real. It is real, and we're moving on because the module of this one is experiential, just like Tasha had told us. Yeah. So in the key principles, because then we've talked about the objectives and what it is we're here for. In the key principles, there are 1, 2, 3 of them. 3. And I'd just like you to note them down. The first one is know your audience. In communication, you must know your audience. The second one is know your why behind your what. And when you were giving your circle names and you're giving the why and the what, you were speaking to me when it comes to communication. And then tell your story. Tell your story. because then people want to know what it is you care about. So in knowing your audience, it is important that the mentees understand who the audience they are speaking to. In that 2-minute speech, who was their audience? Why was that their audience? Why should that audience listen to them? And I must give you an example. Coming from the corporate world, now as a transformational coach, I'm an entrepreneur. But in my corporate world, I quickly realized that we have different needs. So I was a director of sales and marketing, and that was my last posting in a five-star hotel here in Kenya. And I quickly learned in those years that the needs of my sales team were very different from the needs of my operations. So when I had these meetings, I had to speak to the different needs of the individuals. Otherwise, I then lose them. The audience will not understand. So if I'm speaking to operations and I'm bringing the story of sales and performance targets, KPIs, I've lost them. In fact, they've just checked out. And therefore, it is important for you to know your audience. Now, how do we help the mentees to apply this? Tasha spoke about the different ages, and so did Alan. Imagine in your group, especially when you have a mixed cohort, you may have a 20-year-old intern who is dealing with issues of self-doubt. So she's dealing with issues of self-doubt. In that same cohort, you might have a 40-year-old who's transitioning into leadership, into C-suite leadership. Now, it is going to be different kinds of deliveries for you as a mentor to help them to understand. You're not watering down the G4G message. You are picking the same framework that we're talking about. As I said, the professor talks about clarity, persuasion, and inspiration. How are you going to give these 3 objectives to this 24-year-old and to this 40-year-old? It's in the way that you deliver. So as a mentor, the onus is on you. Now, when we move on to the why behind your what? I just put just 2 notes here on my paper. When I listened to the queens said that their what was, we want to grow. And I quickly wondered, then what is your why? Why do you want to grow? And I know that our time was very limited. I'm very sure they have their why. What I want us to do is that when we are giving feedback to the mentees, that we normalize when someone gives you a what, they qualify with a why. When someone gives you a what, they qualify with a why. It's important. So somebody in that group could be able to tell you something like, I want to set up an orphanage. This could be her desire. But what is her why? Because I lost my parents when I was young, and I believe in family and imparting strong foundation. And I love how it was Luminary Collective. I know Tasha was laughing about the many L's and the R's from my part of the world. They said we want to mentor because we did not have mentors. That's good enough. You need to have your why allocated there. Then they tell your story. We are on key principles. In telling your story, there's a public narrative. And this public narrative, you'll be able to see it here. What I am speaking to you is actually in this particular guide, this mentor's guide. And you'll find that the public narrative is there. It's on number 3. It's talking about the story of self. Why do I care? So in her feedback, in her 2-minute speech, can we hear why she cares? Can we then hear the story of us? Why should we care? That's the story of us. Are we then hearing on the story of now? That means we need to act now. We know this is what the world needs. So what do we need to do here now? That is how you tell a story that is compelling in art of communication. So of course, when you're doing this, people are able to relate and go back, and the feedback that you have given them as mentors, they're able to be inspired and reflect on their story. Then making a call to action. Now, I don't know about you, but in my junior school, we wrote compositions. That is now a story. It had an introduction, it had a body, I beg your pardon, and it had a conclusion. And in that conclusion, there had to be a call to action. We needed to help people to reflect on our message and to figure out when they walk out of there, whoa, I'm so motivated to do ... So ensure that we're helping the mentees do that. Well, we've gone through our objectives, we've gone through our key principles, and I had said that the method of learning is very experiential. We want to have more listening than talking. And that's what Neo said in Courageous Leadership. We need to be doing more listening than being able to talk. And this is key. So, how do you start a session? Do a recap. Like I reminded you, listen to the video, listen to it, and take down your notes. Share it with your mentees. And when you start off, art of communication is right in the middle. And because it is the midway mark, you can ask them, what then is your main takeaway that you've been with us? Because this is the third session. Your inspiration video is going to lend to that. But then there's the speaker. There's the aspect of the speaker. When we invite speakers, administration would already have sent them about G4G, about the video, the baseline survey, and then encourage her to have a lived-in experience of what it is that she has done. That's what she brings to the table. And then we have a Q&A. So what is your point? Your point is to ensure that you're tying in the speaker, tying in the video, and tying in the homework, the assignment of the 2-minute speech. We go into our circle sessions just like we did. Remember how Tasha illuminated what it is we're supposed to be doing? And she said 1, 2, 3, 4. Your cohort lead will also guide you. These are the conversations that you're going to have. And then you are guided by that. It's more of, and I'm going to read it out from the book, ask the mentees what barriers they face in public speaking. Ask the mentees what particular step they're going to take to become a better communicator. Because that is what we are here about, is the art of communication. But the part that I love the most is that I get to tell my story. I get to show them that in real time, although I'm a mentor, I'm a seasoned mentor, although I'm a transformational coach, I still have challenges. My work is 90% in front. This is what I do 90% of my time. I am speaking with ladies, speaking to, inspiring. But I have challenges. There are things that are holding me back. And when I speak to these stories, in every cohort I've been with, I've had women coming back to me and saying, how have you overcome that, Lucy? How are you managing that? So you sharing your story as a mentor brings in the authenticity, and your mentee is able to lock in with that. And you know the beautiful thing about art of communication being the middle? This is the time where people now begin to open up in the circles. I can assure you, in building trust and courageous leadership, it will be radio silence in your circle groups. And if not, then you have a very energetic group. But usually, half of the time, it is radio silence. It is in the art of communication where people begin to open up. But as a mentor, I encourage you to look out for those quiet ones, the ones who are not speaking at all. Reach out to them, send them a message, direct message them, help them to recap with you. Yeah. And then we come to the end. And this is now the feedback segment. What I've just done is I've taken you through the 3 segments of G4G. The inspiration segment, which was the video and the speaker, the mentorship circle segment, which we have just completed, and then the feedback segment. In this segment, we encourage them to fill out this particular form that is sent out by admin. We get feedback from them, what this session meant for them. And we also give them feedback when we are giving feedback to G4G of how we felt the session went. Like today, you'll be filling out something. It's important that we fill this in real time. So encourage your mentees to fill it out. In case they're not able to fill it out during the session, follow up in your circles, which are on WhatsApp. Now, what would be your success indicator? Your success indicator will be that they have presented their speeches. You see what Tasha did in her circle feedback? She allowed people to give her feedback. Give an opportunity for people to give feedback. This is how you know whether communication has completed the loop. You're able to give them a framework. How did they use it? Have they understood the assignment, and can they apply? You will find that mentees identify opportunities to apply these principles in real life, and they begin to share it in the WhatsApp groups. You can see things like increased voice stability. You're able to see them showing up more, speaking more. Like I said, this is when they begin to speak more. But encourage them to sign up for a speakers club. Encourage them to speak up more, maybe in family meetings, maybe in an official meeting, that they will come up with an agenda point that they have studied about. We want to hear them saying that they are speaking and applying their principles. Well, at the end, like I started with, there is an assignment. And the assignment you're going to give them is for the next session, which is on negotiation. It is so important that this happens because then they prepare themselves in advance. When they come in for the next session, they just hit the ground running again by listening to the video, by listening to the speaker, and going into their circle sessions. Well, that is what I have for you today. And I'm happy to take any questions. Maybe they're there in the chat. But over to you, Tasha, as we plan for Neo to come back with negotiation. Thank you so much, ladies, for listening.
Thank you, Lucy. Thanks for your time. You're a pro at communication. It's beautiful the way you've brought in even the other aspects of G4G, which are the videos, the feedback forms. The feedback forms are actually very important because it gives the opportunity for your mentees to give you feedback. You read that feedback so that the next session that you have with them is improved. The worst thing is for them to give you feedback and you don't look through the feedback with your co-mentors and you don't improve on their experience. There was a question earlier, Lucy, and this ties in very well with what you've just gone through. So maybe you can respond to that before then Neo comes on. And the question was from Alice. So Alice's question was on when we have the opportunity to do online mentorship. She's like, how to improve on online circles when people can't participate due to camera or microphone or Wi-Fi issues, and how do we overcome camera shyness? So maybe from your experience, so I have my experience on how I usually tackle this, but maybe from your experience, maybe you can address that, and then we can move on.
Thank you, Tasha. I address this from two angles. As a cohort lead, what I do is I create agendas and roles. So for those of you who desire to become a cohort lead, it's a beautiful space. I encourage you to create agendas and roles. Now, the agendas come in the pack that G4G gives you when you choose to be a cohort lead. However, the one thing that you would be able to tailor make for yourself is the responsibilities. So you draw up something very simple on an A4 sheet, which says who is going to be in charge with the circle engagement. Who is going to be in charge with the group cohort engagement? And we're talking online. What is it we're going to do and when is more important? So what I have done, Alice, is I have exercised that every Monday. Remember, we were told that it takes 6 months. So every Monday of those 4 weeks of that month, we have something that is being posted. And I leave that to the mentors to be creative as to what to post, something that is relative to the whatever module we were doing. If it was art of communication, maybe they will go and pick things on nonverbal communication or something on clarity or something on persuasion, or then we are pulling up on the 2 minutes speech. So that is every week encouraging that kind of engagement. And I found that it has worked. Now, as a mentor, when I'm leading a circle, I call them up because on my phone, I can see who has opened up the message and I can see in what order they opened up the message. So I call you and I say, hi, Tasha, how you doing? I see that you interacted with my last post. What are your thoughts? What are your challenges? How can we get you more engaged? How can we help you? So again, the onus is on you far beyond just being in the cohort during your virtual or your physical meeting. You need to reach out further. I hope I've answered that. And maybe Tasha, you could take up the one of the camera shyness.
Yeah, so building upon what Lucy has done, as she said, the engagement is once every month, but that's your physical engagement just to do the module that we're going to be discussing. But in between, the communication and engagement throughout is important because people, you get busy. You know, everyone gets busy, everyone has their own schedule. So it's important that you actually, if you're turning up, you're turning up throughout. So Lucy's example is that she does it once a week, that she puts something in the group, whether it's a WhatsApp group. Also in terms of the virtual ones or even physical, it's also at the onset of your interaction with the ladies is come up with what you want as your norms for your cohort. So is it that, when you talk, please put on your video, if it's an online one, maybe even physical, when you talk, reintroduce yourself, just so that there's a familiarity. Lucy mentioned in her session as well, there's that radio silence. And I think only because our first two modules of building trust and of courageous leadership they are very introspective modules. So there's a lot of what type of a leader am I? Who do I look up to? Do I trust? Do I have a village? So all those questions are usually going on throughout. So, but by the time the ones were coming through, so the art of communication and negotiation is about more experience, because you're telling them, okay, give us your story. How would you communicate XYZ? So before, so I'll give you a short story. So I had a mentor who was working on in what for her was an important paper, and she had wanted to communicate something to a community that she was working with. So she used her opportunity during the art of communication to float that paper to us. So she floated it to the cohort and particularly to our circle, and she said, please read and critique this. So people read, we had her speech, we read the document which was accompanying that speech, we gave feedback, and then, she went off her way. I think maybe in session 5, so this is maybe 2 months later, she comes back and says, remember what we did in session 3? This is my outcome. I pitched and she won. You see? So she basically used us as a sounding board, and she improved whatever she needed to improve on, and she made, it was successful on her side. So that is also what you need to ensure that you encourage the ladies to do. And you'll also see, even after the 6th session, which is our last session, there are some groups that have bonded so much that they are still friends. They became business partners. The network still grew. So it is not that when you finish your 6 sessions, you're like done and dusted. There's always some relationships that continue beyond that. There are some that don't, and there are some that do. So I just want to encourage you that when you turn up, please turn up, and you'll be surprised. So
Tasha, I
Neo
just
is
want to add in there before Neo comes on. I had the pleasure of doing a teens cohort. And this is young girls between preteen, the 12 years. And I think the oldest one was 17 at that point. And talking about, it's not even camera shyness, it's a total level. That age, they're not about showing their faces because they're busy doing other things. So they want to multitask, and most probably because you're the old person on the screen, they're wondering what you're talking about. And so my first 2 sessions were a challenge. I remember this so clearly. So to overcome that lack of putting on the camera, I then encouraged them to start to feel like they were presenting in school. Now, in this case, when I'm dealing with older women, I prepare you for the photograph at the end. So I say, ladies, remember to get your lashes moving, your eyebrows done, your lipstick, your hair in one place, because we're taking a photograph later. So when Mina speaks, I say, Mina, I can't see you. And of course, Mina is ready for the photograph already. So she's ready to look beautiful here on the screen. It's a safe space. But all of us want to be seen and to be heard. So the same thing that I do with the teenagers, I find something that is relative to them. I use an example that helps them to be able to show up. And for the older women, not those young girls, I use an example about how you're showing up amongst other women. And it works in a very gentle way. So you will find as mentors that the cameras will go on more towards the end. Because just like Tasha says, the connections are beginning to happen. So when you start the session, look at, oh, Caroline, that's you. Hi, Fumane. Hi. Because now we are seeing each other. And maybe somebody's saying, oh, you're still driving to that place. So don't give up hope about the camera shyness if it doesn't happen in session 1, 2, or maybe 3. But it will with your consistency. Make sure that your camera is on. Make sure that your internet connectivity is very secure. Thank you so much, Tasha.
Thanks, Lucy. So Neo will take you up again with the negotiation, advocating for yourself and others. Karibu. And you can put your mic on.
Bye.
Thank you.
I've been listening and learning as well. That's the beauty of this session and engagements like this. It's like every time you are listening to another trainer, you are getting trained yourself. So amazing. One thing that I really like about the sessions, the training sessions, is how linked they are. You go from module one up to module two, we're in module four. There's a link. There's a very clear link that you can make. That's why earlier when I did courageous leadership, I left a question. That's when we now coming to address this question now in module four. I like what Lucy was actually doing, interpolating everything and making sure that we get the concept of how the sessions actually go. So, if you are looking at negotiation and advocating, the question becomes for who? It's for self and for others. For self and for others. It's impossible to be able to advocate for others if you don't know how to advocate for yourself. Okay. And a very interesting aspect of negotiating and advocating in this instance is in the actual cohorts themselves. You will find that different ways that you can actually approach this. If you are in a cohort and you are doing the whole 6 modules, and you are unable to get other mentors to join with you, it happens, especially because we cannot assume we are all in cities. Some people are far out and they're still interested in doing this program, which is actually quite advantageous and advisable. So, one aspect of it is when you are having, say, 5 or 6 mentors coming together, who becomes the lead? Negotiate and advocate for self and for others. That's where it starts. Have a discussion. The art of communication. It has just come up right now from Lucy. Have a discussion that's going to be conducive for the mentors, but also for the mentees. That's how some of these small building blocks come together to form a framework or to form a structure that's going to yield results for the whole process or for the whole program. When you talk about negotiating and advocacy, I know people get into a space of, but it becomes a personality thing. No, it's not really a personality thing. What am I saying? There are extroverts and introverts. And someone will say, but no, 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 it's not about that. Let's break it down. I'm saying this from experience. And that's the thing about being a mentor. You need to be able to demonstrate your practical interest, association, and experience with what you're saying rather than just theory. That is very important because when you are just doing the theory aspect of it, you are unable to connect with the mentees. You are unable to actually get what we call empathy, to put yourself in their shoes. What are they feeling? You have to be able to deliver that energy seamlessly. When you talk about passion, passion is something that an extrovert can demonstrate, an introvert can demonstrate. It is not based on just being able to be loud or being able to speak up louder than others. No, different personalities can actually negotiate and advocate for others, not just for self. Okay, now negotiating and advocating itself is the removal of fear around asking. That's the first thing that you need to actually be able to relate with. Asking is the center of negotiating and advocating. You need to say, if I cannot ask, I cannot lead. Because in being able to put yourself in a position where you ask for yourself, you are selflessly able to now put yourself in a position to ask for others. You remove the fear of asking.
Make them a bit smaller.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Neil.
Okay. By raise of hands, maybe just type on the comment who here has ever accepted less than what they deserve? Simply because you wanted to avoid discomfort. You wanted to avoid that discussion, but majorly the discomfort. Just put in the comment if you have ever, say, I have, or yes. If you have ever accepted less than what you deserve, good. Today we need to learn the process of changing that pattern. That's what this is about. We are going to learn, how do I change that pattern in a manner that suits myself and the person that I'm talking to, whether I'm advocating for self or for others, negotiating for self or for others. Use your voice with confidence and clarity. Remember, we talked about clarity. Ask in a manner that accentuates, defines your value. Your value and your values, two different things. Your value and your values without apologizing. You need to be very intentional about it. We need to reframe what negotiating is about, because there is a misinterpretation that negotiating is about confrontation. No, negotiating is about clarity of what value is presented on the table. You need to provide a clear interpretation of the value that is coming on the table that will be beneficial to all parties that are involved. A conversation is not a conflict. That is something that we should relate with right from the ground. When you are in a room, whether it's a digital space like we are now, or physically, even mentoring, when you're speaking to your mentees, let me give an example of the lady that I was mentoring last year, the mine engineer. She left the job from one mining company, or from one mine to another, because in her negotiation, what she had anticipated, they were not ready to offer. It was not a conflict. We talked about how she was going to do this. We talked about the points she was going to bring across. We talked about the possibilities of the responses she was going to get. Now, as a mentor, you coach your mentee through that because you have the experience. That's why I talked about it's important to have the experience, the practical aspect of what you're discussing with your mentee. And there are many of that. We cannot be in short of that, because remember, leadership is about everything from being a mother to being a sister to the workplace. There are different spectrums of it. Now, in the negotiation, she had a list. She articulated herself well. There was no conflict, there was clarity. And the feedback that she got was not what she had in mind. She did the negotiation. Why? Because there was already an offer from another company, but she actually liked working for this company. But then it was going to be a matter of the benefits at the end of the day, weighing the options, looking at the value that she presents on the table and the value they are presenting on the table as well. At the end, it was a cordial discussion. There was no conflict. There was clarity of intention from her side. There was clarity of response from the person that she was discussing with at the time. And guess what? When she left, she actually got a very good recommendation that anytime she wants to come back, because of her skills, because of her experience, at a later date, she's welcome to come back. That's what good negotiation and advocacy for self does. She was doing it for self. Now, you are able to leave the table whether you agree. And negotiation and advocacy, it's not always about agreement. Sometimes you do sit on that table, you don't have an agreement. But what you can have is a plan. If there is no agreement, what is the plan? Short term, medium term, and even long term. These are the things
Leon,
that
we are
you.
ready for the groups when you're ready. We are ready for the breakout rooms now when you're ready.
Yes, just a minute. And then when you talk to advocacy, it's not about aggression, it's about responsibility. It's about being able to articulate yourself and ask, acknowledge your value, state it clearly, and keep calm. We can go to the breakout rooms. I'm ready for that.
So as those are being done, so we'll go back into the same circles that we were in, and we'll also give you the what the question is. So we'll put that. So basically what it is that You've been given 1 orange to share with the ladies that you're in the group. So you need to then find out and negotiate with each other who is getting what and why. And then we come back again, you pick someone to report back as to what and how that negotiation went on. And we will hear back maybe from the circles that we didn't hear back from before. So that's basically what we're going to do in the circles, is that we will have an orange. So you have 1 orange and you have someone and you negotiate to see what we have. Yes, so Caroline will look into the issue. Hopefully you won't have the same. So everyone, there'll be a pop-up message that comes on your screen. You tap that. If you miss that, it'll be on your bottom right. So, but we'll see how we go. Miriam, kindly put the ladies in the circles, and we have
Is it possible to
about
reduce the groups? There were 16 before, maybe to 10. Is it
no,
possible
because of the number of ladies on the group, we need to,
Yeah.
so it's the issue is the number in each group. So if you reduce, there'll be too many in a circle. And we'll have about 8 minutes to have the discussion. So Miriam, please put the ladies in their groups. So the break rooms have been open. Please see if they've been popped up. I'm hoping that the ladies are going back into the same circles as opposed to new ones. But if they're new ones, please bear with us and just have the same discussion.
Caroline says she's been put in a different one.
Miriam, they're meant to go back to the same groups.
Tasha, yeah, they're going back to the same groups. But remember the people who had dropped in and out.
Caroline was in 10. Rose was also in 10. She's now in room 1. There's a lady called Lungile. She's in a different group.
I am in a different group. I was in group 1, room 1.
I was in room 9, but I was taken to room 16.
I am now being sent to room 16.
Okay, we'll see how to correct that.
Can we allow them to join for themselves since they remember which groups they were in?
So we've already sent out the groups. We can't redo unless now we come back to the main and then now people to choose what the groups they were in.
Yeah, I think that would work faster
Take
because
time.
I think you may not remember where all of them were.
I can see the ladies who've asked for help. I have 13 participants who've asked for help. Let me try and put them back to their actual groups.
We can resign some of them back to their rooms.
Yeah, so let me do that. But in the meantime, kindly just stay in the group.
I was in room.
Yeah, okay.
Metel, what room
Hello,
are
I'm
you?
not in a room right now. I was in room 7.
7. Okay. I'm putting you in
Room 7. I was in room 2.
I've sent you.
Okay, yeah, 7.
Can I wait for room 1 or I join room 16?
Let me look for your name.
Yeah. Okay.
Flavia, what room have
It's
you been
still saying I
assigned?
have been assigned to room 2.
I have been in room 1. I was in room 1, the Nexus.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Jacqueline here. I was in room 11.
I'm also still waiting. I was in room 9.
What's your name, please?
Lungile.
What room have you been assigned to?
15.
Okay. And you are in room?
9.
Lungile? 9. Okay. Please see the link.
Thanks.
Okay.
Zabina here. I was in room 3. Could I please be taken back? Thank you. Robina.
Please take me to room 9.
Your name, please?
Ahan Robert. Robert.
What room are you currently in?
16.
Please see link.
Hello, Jacqueline. Please send
What
me
room are you
to
currently assigned to?
6. Send me to 11.
Priscilla, what room are you meant to be in? Priscilla?
Room 16 seems to have 2 people, but it had about 4 or 5 people before.
There are some with no, but no one is responding. Munira?
Mahadi here. I was in room 4.
Which room are you currently been assigned to?
7, room 7.
Okay.
Hi everyone. I was in group 16 and I was moved to group 9. I don't know why.
Who is speaking, please?
Bye. Michelle.
Yes. Okay. It's not morning.
Hello, hi,
Now
Halima here.
and I can't join it. I don't know why.
Just give us a second, because I'm just going through the list of ladies who've not been assigned. Is Priscilla on the call? Okay, I have Thanya.
Mommy. Yes, ma'am.
What room
13.
were you assigned to before?
13. But now
13.
I was.
That's fine. Just I will send you the link.
Okay.
I have Ndolovu.
Hello.
Mpo. You've been assigned to room 2, but you've not joined yet. Michelle, what room have you been assigned to?
16.
16. And what room are you meant to be in?
No, they assigned me to group 9. I'm meant to be in group 16.
Because group 9 has like a lot of people in there.
I'm moving you.
Yes, back to my group, please.
Have you seen the link? I've sent
I
you the
joined
link.
group 2.
Michelle, I've sent you the link.
Hi,
I
Tasha.
also have an issue. I was assigned to group 7 initially, but now moved to group 9. May I please have the link to group 7?
Who is speaking, please?
Wenu.
What group you are linked to? Sorry, say that again.
Initially, it was room 7.
And where are you now?
Room 9.
Okay. I've sent you your link.
I'm in group 16 right now, but I'm supposed to be in group 9.
Who is speaking, please?
This is Ahang Robert.
As you allocate Hang Robert to her room, we've got 5 more minutes for Neo to do her feedback on the session.
Okay, thanks, Lucy. Room 16 seems to just have very few people, so I don't know how the distribution was done. Mpo had sent you your link. I'm not sure why you're not in a group.
Can you please assign me to group 16? I am Undibile Bundu.
What? Okay, 16.
Hi, Tasha.
Sandra, what group?
I
What
was in
group are you
11.
Yes.
Room 11, but I failed to get in.
What room are you in now?
I'm here. I'm on live. There is no room I'm in. I don't know.
Oh, okay, you're meant to be in 11.
11, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Tasha. This is Halima.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in any group at the first session, but I later joined group 5, and we were only 2 there.
Yeah, you can still have, and then you came out.
And then I came out.
No, you should continue. So please, please go back.
Okay.
Yeah. You still have the same assignment. So kindly please go back to the same room.
Okay, is there a Kenyan cohort? You told me to wait for a Kenyan.
No, as in this is all mixed, so it's not just Kenyans.
Okay.
Yeah. We still have a few ladies who have not gone into rooms unless we have double joined. So Neo, you're ready to do the feedback? The lady will be coming back soon.
Yeah, isn't it? I wait for them to come back.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but they do the thing, isn't it?
Just their feedback as to how they shared the orange.
Tasha and Neo, I advised them in the different groups that I visited just to say the room number because of the reshuffle, yeah? Just to identify by the room number.
Sawa. That's fine. Thanks.
Tasha?
Yes?
Have the breakout rooms come back?
Not yet.
Could you put me back into 11? Sorry, my network disappeared and I got kicked
Who
out.
is speaking? Sorry.
My name is Sarah Josiah.
Okay.
Don't worry, this is really serious.
We were sent to different groups altogether. Humane, I didn't see you in my group.
No worries. The conversation was still the same, but it's ideally should have been the same one. But in a proper cohort, the circles which are created at in the first session should be the ones that take you throughout the all through. So this one, at least, then you had an opportunity to meet other ladies in other circles, in other groups. The conversation was the same. Neo will take us through. So the discussion or the work or the task or the assignment that we gave was you have an orange and you have the ladies, like different groups had different number of ladies and you are to share the orange. And it was linking back now to the negotiations. Neo, if you could take up the conversation, facilitate the conversation, please.
I just want them to give their feedback first. And if I remember, 14 had already, I want a different set of ladies to, even though they've been moved around, 3 groups to volunteer which had not given their feedback before. I remember 14 years. Esther, Annalena. Esther, which group are you in? You can open your mic and maybe your video.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Good morning. I was in group 15.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So in group 15, we assumed that the orange was an organization where the 3 of us who were in the group were working in. So there was Eunice, Chelsea, and me, Esther. And we started by one of us negotiating for herself to take 60% of the orange, while the other 2 take 40% of it. And she shared that it was because of the number of years she had worked in the institution. She had been there for 5 years. Another had been there for 2 years, another for 1 year. Then the person who had been there for 2 years said that she deserves 70% of the orange, despite being there for 2 years, because it's not about the number of years that she has worked, but about the goals that she has been able to achieve for the organization, where she has been able to put the institution, which has been in a place where people who have been there for even 10 years have not been able to accomplish, and she has done it in a space of 2 years. So she deserves 70%. Then the other who had worked for 1 year said that despite working for 1 year, she has been able to create a procurement system that has saved the organizations millions that they have been losing over the years that she was not working there. So even if she's just 1 year old in the institution, she was able to identify a gap in the procurement system and created a system that has now saved the institution a lot of money. And then the person of 5 years came back with a rebuttal to say that, well, she was the initiator. She has been the initiator of this project. So even if, the rest have come on board and done all these amazing things as the initiator of the project, thanks to her, the project exists. It may not have even existed if she wasn't in place. So she still believes, though she reduced her money to 50% from 60%, like she deserves a 50% share and the others can share the other 50%. Then in rebuttal, again, the one of 2 years said she still insists on the 70% because when she came on board, she was able to identify a few gaps in the organization's compliance and was able to save the institution from being closed, something that everyone who had been working there had missed over this until she came on board 2 years ago. So she still insisted that she deserves the 70% for those reasons. And that is how the discussion ended. We were brought back into the room. Thank you.
Beautiful. You overshot your time, but I was so interested in listening to what you had to say. I had to let you finish. Fantastic. Let me allow I think I'll take only 2 groups. How much time do I have? It looks like we overshot when we were trying to get into the groups.
We can have Esther because she had put up her hand. She could share.
No, Esther was the one speaking.
Oh, there was a second, the hand went
Yeah,
down.
there was a second person before. I think it was at Tamelang, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure if it was me, Unalena, or if there was somebody else.
Yes. Unalena, please go ahead. Which group are you in?
Morning. Originally, I was in group 15, but now I was put in group 2. So there were 4 of us there. Opened up the conversation with one person saying that in terms of the orange, they don't want to eat the seeds and they don't want the peels as well. So they just want the orange. And one person mentioned, okay, I have 5 kids. I'd like to get all of the orange so that I can feed my 5 kids. Went on to progress to say, okay, fine. The one with 5 kids, she'll get the seeds so that she can plant and be able to feed all her kids at a later stage. One person said that, okay, I would love to take the orange peels then so that I can use them for my skincare and to glow up. Another person said, I really need them for my health. I really need the orange for my health. I want to take most of the orange, if not all of the orange, so I can have more vitamins. So the conclusion to that solution was, okay, that person can take the 70%, and then I'll take the 30% because I mainly want to use the white parts of the orange to make some art and then snack. Thank you.
I like the diversity. Let me just take one last group and then we'll round up from that. There was one last hand that was up. Yes, Caroline. Is it Caroline or Caroline?
Any can do.
Okay, go ahead.
I am one of those who are sort of all over the place in terms of groups. Initially, I was in 10, 5, and then this last one I was put in group 7, and we were all new in that group. So for us, we were about equitable distribution of resources, and for the ladies in my group, the one thing that we agreed on is that we're going to peel the orange. So we did agree that the orange is going to be peeled, and then we're going to count the segments in the orange and distribute equally amongst ourselves. However, we did have somebody, a person with a disability, and we said, for example, we were 6. If the segments inside the orange were like 20, each of us would get 3 equitably, and maybe there'll be 2 remaining. So for the 2, there were two opinions. The person with disability would have requested for the extra because of access to the orange. So they would have asked for the extra, but there was also the opinion that a battle for, best man wins. So whomever grabs the extra oranges makes the decision whether to keep it for themselves or to distribute to whomever they feel is deserving. So really that was our discussion. So I think for us, equitable distribution of resources was the key principle that was guiding our negotiation and advocating for ourselves.
Wow. Wow. The beautiful thing is I was listening to the three groups, and the diversity and the approaches were so impressive, so different. But at the same time, you learn something from every group that spoke. Now, we adhere to one thing that I spoke about: clarity of value. I love that. All groups adhere to what is my value, advocating for self, what is the value of the group, advocating for others. It actually makes my closing very easy because across the continent, across the world, women are not lacking ability. And you ladies have just demonstrated that. We are needing to refine our alignment with a courageous voice and learn that when we are having that leadership skill honed out, we negotiate for self and for others. I'm so impressed because you ladies are listening. Everything you've just demonstrated, you've just articulated and given us feedback indicates that you're listening. When ladies negotiate, and this is one thing that is very close to me because I work in a very male dominated industry. I'm a mining engineer by profession. And as I said, I mentor men, and in my organization, because there are few women, I end up having to mentor women in other countries. So this is a very important thing. When women negotiate, we don't only shift our lives, we shift the lives around us at a family level, organizational level, national level. When women advocate, we not only shift life, we shift systems. Why do I say we shift systems? Because when you are a woman representing a segment or a part of a society, your voice matters. It carries weight. It carries weight because when a mother speaks, and I'm assuming we are all mothers or will be mothers at some point, a mother builds a nation. We cannot even run away from that. When women lead, speaking to courage, speaking to the art of communication, and we're able to negotiate confidently and advocate collectively, we don't just transform our own paths. We shift cultures, institutions, and generations. So when you're mentoring that group and you have your mentees, when they ask questions, be patient, answer the questions in a very clear manner, because you're not only building the mind of that person is going to use that knowledge, that information you're giving them to build the mind of others. So as I close and allow Tasha to come back, I just want to have you ladies write on the comments. Remember the match item. What is it that you have been putting off because of maybe lack of courage that you want to work on? But the one conversation that you've been postponing that needs courage, negotiation, and advocacy. In one sentence, put that on the comments and let that be a reminder as a first step as you're going towards your mentoring journey that all of these modules are connected. All of these discussions that we're having are leading towards you having impact in your community. So I'm looking forward to reading the comments as I see a few already as I hand back to Tasha. Just put that in a sentence because it helps you remember. When you write it down, it helps you remember. Put that in a sentence in the comment section. What have I been putting off? That in March and maybe the next couple of months that I want to deal with, that I want to be able to articulate to myself in order to articulate to others. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for that. So as you're putting your sentence in, then this is what I say, putting it out in the universe. When you put something in writing, is like you have to do it, even it's a promise to self. But thank you very much, Neo, for that. What we're not good at, we're very good at negotiating for other people. You can give people raises, you can give them, I don't know, negotiate for like a good desserts. But for yourself, when we get to negotiate for ourselves, I think that's why we are very shy as ladies. You're like, I don't know. So whether it's you feel like you're being selfish or something, but then what we're trying to do for G4G is you need to be well yourself before you then even negotiate for others. So even if it's like collective bargaining, you also need to be in the right space to actually do that for yourself. We have our 5th module, which is public service. And Mercy is the one who is taking us through that. Mercy, if you're ready, you can start. And I'm loving the sentences which are coming through. Negotiate clarity of mind, balance servitude and boundaries. Wololololo. For women, hey, that's hard, but we strive every day to do
Tasha,
that.
may I suggest that the circles that didn't share, just share their feedback in the
On
chat?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Mercy, we're ready for you.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Mese Chikadzamachelo. Miriam, we are still waiting for the slide for the bio.
Go ahead and
If
just
you
introduce yourself as it comes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a social worker by profession, and I did a bit of public policy and governance in my master's, but largely I've been working with women in small-scale businesses, but also women in politics, championing empowerment, leadership development, and also economic inclusion. My career spans in collaboration with various organizations in Malawi and beyond, where I've contributed to community development, policy engagement, and capacity building. I've served as a mentor for the G4G since 2023. And today I'm excited to be on this platform and share on public service and learning for office. I think in a nutshell, that's my bio. I would have loved if somebody introduced me to the team, but it's okay. And I understand we are running out of time. So I'll try to be brief, but also the good thing is today we are dealing with mentors and not mentees. So
go ahead, Mercy.
Okay, so I'll be speaking on public service and learning for office. And one most important thing that I wanted to highlight before I start is that as mentors, I think we should be able to define what public service is, because usually we go into public service, but not really define what it is to our mentees. So as mentors, we should be able to define what public service is. Public service is working to improve the lives of others through government, institution, community leadership, and also public institutions. So it is about serving people, not power. We should always remember that, and our mentees need to know that. It is about solving community problems, promoting fairness and inclusion, but also creating policies that improve people's lives. So when you're studying this module as a mentor, you need to ask your mentees how they feel about public service. Because a lot of people think public service is about politics. You know, when they hear running for office, they always think, okay, maybe I need to be a member of parliament. No, public service goes beyond that because it is about solving community problems. It is about promoting fairness and inclusion. So in this module, we are moving from courageous leadership to positional leadership, where now as women, as ladies, as girls, we are creating a pipeline of female leaders. We are moving for greater good. Yeah? So why does it matter? Why does public service matter? Especially for us girls. Number one, it brings about inclusive and community-centered leadership. but also girls' voices shape education, health, and economic policies. As girls, we need a voice in our healthy systems. We need a voice in sanitary materials as ladies. We need to know what it means to have a gender-responsive budget in our national budgets. Representation as well, it leads to better decision making. We just can't have men everywhere and expect good policies that are pro-women. Also, a key message on this one is leadership is not about position. We should always remind our mentees that leadership is not about position, it's about impact. I think Neo touched a lot on that, and I will not waste much of your time on this one, but really, this is about impact. How are you helping people? How are you going to be remembered as a courageous leader, as someone who has done public service in your community, be it at the office or also in the government institutions that we are placed in? So again, representation leads to better decision making for us. And this is not only about politics, again, and it is about creating awareness. We need to create a seat on the table as women, as girls, and we need to become a voice for the young lady, whether at that university, whether at that workplace where you are an intern, whether in the government again, or whether in the civil society sector, you need to be that lady that creates a seat. Now, running for office as well is also mistaken with politics, but this is what every girl needs to know about running for office, and we encourage you mentors to also share the same with the mentees when you go out there. Number one, we are there to influence laws and policies. It's about problem solving, like I shared. It's about teamwork. It's about resilience. We need to stand out and share things that really matter. So I think, was it Neo? I think. No, it was Lucy that shared when she was starting her session. She said, as a mentor, you need to know your audience. You need to give practical examples. This also goes with public service and learning for office. You need to know your audience, because you can't just prepare people for service if you don't really understand what they are at. If they're college students, you need to be able to give out practical examples that maybe they can start joining the students' union. Maybe they can lead at a certain women's club at the university. Yeah. So it is very important that we know our audience as mentors. Also, we need to build strong networks and mentors. I think Tasha also shared on this. She said we need to capitalize on the relationships and friendships that we make in the cohorts that we have, because it is very important. Today, let's say if you want to help a mother group in your community, you need fellow mentors to help you. You need fellow mentors who understand the vision and mission to come alongside you. So also, it is very important that we encourage our mentees to always stay informed about current affairs, to be able to represent our communities better, but also to drive change from decision-making tables. The essential skills needed, number one, is to develop confidence and public speaking, which is always a challenge, but we need to do it as mentors. We need to be, we need to have integrity and accountability. We need to have people that can keep us accountable. We need to have a knowledge of civic processes, because that's the only way to go if we are to help our mentees. I have a few examples of women who chose to lead. And again, using borrowed words from Neo, I think she said, it's not because I can, but because I am willing to do it. Yeah. So it will not come naturally for you to go out there and be able to serve, but sometimes it's because you're just willing to go out there. So we have Samia Suluhu Hassan, Tanzania's first female president. She chose to lead. We have Joyce Banda, and she has been an advocate for women's economic empowerment, and she was also our first female president in Malawi. We have Amina J. Muhammad from Nigeria. but now she's the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, serving in the British protectorate as a diplomat. So these are some of the women we are trying to learn through. And also I tried to come up with some examples from Kenya. I didn't know that Botswana is going to take up so much of our space today, which is a good thing. But I was thinking about Martha Koome. She's the Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court now. You know, someone we can take after. We also have Millie Odiambo. She's an MP, and I've met this one. She came to Malawi last year. She's part of the Parliamentary Women's Caucus. She's very vocal, and she knows how to advocate for women and pro-women legislation. So these are some of the women that I came up with that chose to lead. Again, on skills that every leader should have. Number one is confidence, public speaking, integrity and accountability, civic knowledge. We need to be resilient enough. Strong networks. I think Tasha spoke so much about that. And also always remember as a mentor that leadership is not about waiting for permission. It is a stage where you prepare stepping forward, but also serving with purpose. In conclusion, as mentors, we need to empower mentees to have a vision to grow in leadership, to serve and give back by identifying platforms where our mentees can exercise leadership, but also getting more mentees to step into decision-making roles in the private sector, civil society, government. Again, we go back to knowing your audience. If it's in private schools, secondary schools, or universities, they also need to know where they can start volunteering. To have an impact, you need some form of influence everywhere. You can't just go to a place and start mentoring people when you do not have any form of influence. So again, that's where the power comes in. And public office is about service to community. We should use our G4G skills to further women's agenda. That is why we always emphasize on the use of the mentor's guide. And also women should not be afraid of stepping up. And with that one, emphasis is on being your authentic self. Women placed on a higher standard than men. It's always everywhere. They always say, okay, since she's a leader, she has to do this, she has to do that. Unlike what happens when a man is a leader. About knowing your audience, we might be talking to students. And again, we need to encourage them to join the SRC or board interviews or practice making campaign statements for those that would want to go as far as being MPs in their countries. And also just practicing on recruiting sponsors for your community projects. That would also help them build their confidence. Note that this session builds on practical skills from communication, negotiation, but also courageous leadership. But then this now is that winning stage where you are able to go out and you want to impact real change. So one of the indicators that you've done well as a mentor is that mentees at the end of the session, at the end of the cohort, should be actively seeking new roles and responsibilities in their communities and organizations. Mentees should be able to revise their CVs and actively looking for roles and planning to grow. And also they should be able to identify social interest projects, developing campaign strategies, setting up organizations, and mentees in leadership positions mentees should also be willing to join leadership positions. And I will finish with what Onkamili shared as we were sharing our expectations. I think she said, we are the change that we want to see. And truly, we are the change that we want to see, without us stepping out to say, okay, this is what we want to see in Kenya, in Botswana, in South Africa, in Malawi, in Uganda. They can never be changed. And I think our countries need us as women, as ladies, Thank you so much. If there are any questions, please feel free to do so, to raise your hand, but also you can send your questions on the chat box. Thank you so much, and over to you, Tasha.
Thank you, Mercy. Mercy, thank you very much, all the way from Malawi. Thank you very much for joining us in our training today. We are going on to our last module, but I'll just want to pick up from what Mercy has mentioned about us as mentors in our sessions. It is very key for us to also keep in mind that running for office does not need to be a political post. I think that is where most ladies back down and they're like, nope, I'm not into politics. It's too dirty. It's too this, it's too that. But running for office also just means even if you belong to a church group, it could even be service in that church, leading as one of the positions that they have. If it's, we've heard that we also do mentoring for teenagers. So it could be for them actually running for a club post, maybe as they wanted to start a club in their school. So they're the ones who initiate it and then get members. So the running for office does not mean it is a political post. And that is something that we need to keep in mind, that running for office or standing up even as a leader for public service does not necessarily mean it is political. Mercy, I will help you so one of our ladies that we always celebrate is Wangari Maathai. And she stood up for all African women, and she eventually even won the Nobel Peace Prize. So we'll offer her up as a leader that you can also recognize when you're thinking about leadership and people who people thought she was crazy, basically. Unfortunately, what's happening in Kenya as well and in the forest that she was saving in her lifetime, we need to also stand up as a generation, our generation as ladies, to continue battling what she did. So, but thank you very much, Mercy. So our final module is 6. I said we do 6 modules in G4G. Angel is the one who is going to take us up through that module. Angel is our mentor coming in from Uganda. I did say we are across the board this time as trainers. So Angel, if you're online, you could take up the mantle now. Angel, are you on? If not, I think I will proceed. So our last module is on ethics and values in decision making. And it is our last module. It is a module where we do not have a video. All the previous modules, we will have a video. For the last one, we tend not to have a video because it is a lot of interaction that we do. And if I could have the slide that has our framework for the ladies to see. So again, we have a framework that we follow, and the framework is around now values and ethics that you have. So values are based around the ones are personal values. Personal values are the ones that you may get or you do get actually when you're in your family. So families have different values. So when you're growing up in your family, maybe you are told, you know, respect your elders. So that's a value that you've carried on and you've carried with it throughout as you grew up. You could have had a value of, you know, respect people's time. So in terms of then, as you grow up, that's what you do. If it's something was starting at 2 o'clock, let it start at 2 o'clock, right? So there's values that you do get in terms of then personal values. We do also have values that are based on organizational values. So if you work in an organization, there are values that the organization says it has. So you could share on your group if you're working in an organization, a value that you think your organization says it has and demonstrates that it has. So organizational values are the next level of values. Then the other level of values is societal values. So the value that your society, the society you belong to, values, right? So we have that, and so what is interesting when we are going through this module is to see whether all three align: your personal one, your organizational one, and your society one. We have someone who has said collaboration. So Helen has mentioned collaboration as a company value. I heard of there's a speaker who came to one of the cohorts that we did, and she made a point of saying she had worked for a company for not a very long time, maybe 2-3 years, and the company was very good at publishing the values. So they had, we're a company that believes like in our clients, so that clients are always right, and they believe in communication, and they believe in I can't remember the third one. And so in the company, and she had first joined the company because of the obviously it was a good change for career. It was something that she had been looking forward to, so she joined. So 1 year into it, she sat back one time and said, "Is the company actually saying or doing what they're saying? Do they actually respect their clients? Do they communicate well, etc., etc.? And do those values align with her personal values?" So her story went that she when she stayed on and she did some soul searching, there are some values that the company verbally said that they do have, but they weren't demonstrated. It wasn't being demonstrated through their treatment of clients. Their bosses were not aligned to what the ethos of the company was saying they were doing, and therefore it was a mismatch to what she believed her values were and of the other ones of her company. So she resigned, and luckily for her, she was able to get another job. Angel, I don't know if you've come up. And if you are, please do put on please, you can continue on. If not, then I will proceed. Okay. So let me just proceed with the module. When you think of values, your decisions are based on your values. And from the experience I've had and the different cohorts that I've had, because of, as I said, there are people from different walks of life, there are different people in terms of age and in career, is that I have come to realize that some of my personal decisions have also come from a place of what I call privilege, right? So I'll give you a scenario. If you are so assume you're in your let me say early 30s. Early 30s, you have completed school, you're in your first job, and you're doing what you're considering, and your friends around you consider having, you're doing okay, right? You're doing okay work-wise, family-wise, etc. And then something that recently happened to all of us was COVID. COVID happened and things shut down, correct? And when things shut down, many things happened. If you're employed, some people lost jobs. Some people lost very good jobs, meaning that it was jobs that were maybe paying for various expenses that you had as an individual. There are some people who stayed in the same job but probably got a job cut. If you're in business, there was no trade. In the first couple of months in every company, everyone was on lockdown. So there was no business happening anywhere. So the question I have, and I'll have maybe one of you putting up your hand, and then I'll select you and we can hear your voices. So the question is, so you've been out of work. It's been 6 months out of work. Your savings are going every month are going down. You have no the light has nothing. There's no light in any tunnel. You're just in darkness, right? So then a friend says, oh, you know, you're in comms. Like Lucy says, she's in communications. So she's a communicator. She was a marketer for years. So you're like, yeah, someone comes and says, give me your CV. I pass it on to someone, right? They set you up and pass on your resume to a colleague that they have. The colleague reads the CV and says, the experience that this person has, the education this person has is fit for the job we have at hand. So they call you up, they interview you, you interview well. And they tell you, we're looking at other people, we'll get back to you. So a few days later, they get back to you. They say, of all the candidates that you have, you're the person, right? So this is all legit, right? You've gone for the interview, you've even met people in the waiting room also going for the same job. But this is where another issue comes in. The person says, for you to get this job, it is, assume, I'll use Kenya shillings. Assume you're going to get 150 shillings, 1,000 shillings per month, right? And for you, it's a good deal. You've been out of the job for 6 months, isn't it? But they say, for you to get this job, your first paycheck that comes through, you're going to give me 30% of this paycheck. So the question is, and I'll pick, you can put up your hand and you'll say why. Why will you take the job if you say yes? Or will you not take that job offer? So you've been given a job offer, but the only way you're going to get this job is if you give up your 30% of this of your pay when you start working. So hands up, what would you think? Will you take it, not take it? Thando, please put on your camera and your mic and let us know what your decision would be.
Hi, Tasha. Hi, everybody. So I would definitely not take the job, right? Because number one, it is unethical. Number two, I know very well that I don't have to pay for a job to get a job. That is why I actually want a job. So, and the thing is, you allow it once, then it's going to be a pattern. So you're gonna owe this person for the rest of your life. And I'd even go further than saying no. I would report the person so that it never happens to the next candidate again. So that person would actually end up, the person who wants to take that cut would end up without having a job. And I think now that's the beauty of social media. We don't have to be scared anymore. Do a TikTok post and that person's career is over. And who knows, you might actually end up occupying that person's role. So win-win. I'd actually negotiate that. I'd actually use my negotiation skills and say that for me not to report, you are gonna hire me and I'm gonna get actually a higher salary than the one you initially offered. And this person is gonna be out of a job. So otherwise I'm posting you guys on TikTok.
Oh well, I have noted all that. I think that's a good one. Yeah. Teresa, what do you say you? Please put on your mic. Your mic is off. Put your mic on, Teresa.
Sir.
Thank you. What you need to?
Actually, me, I'm taking that job and I'm not paying that 40%. Because why? It wasn't on the agreement. We did not sign any agreement. You did not tell me that when I'm going to do the interview that there was some deal that wasn't clear. So with this, unless you take me to court, and to which proof will you say that okay, we have this agreement with Teresa, and I'm reporting you after that, after getting that job, not paying 40%, I'm also reporting you. There is no way I can give up for the job since I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's Teresa. Caroline?
For me, it's a tough situation because when you tell them that I'm just going by Tando, and Tando, we're in the same group. This is so amusing to me that if you don't give me the job, I'll put you on social media. You're also, it's like an exchange of power here. So you'll each owe each other something that, give me the job or else. And the person is saying, pay me the money or else you don't get the job. So you see, it's like an exchange of power, and it's just negative. You don't want to owe anyone anything, and you don't want them to owe you anything. You want the job. So at the end of the day, for me, just stating my principles and saying thank you very much for letting me know that I'm the best candidate for this job, and unless this is the policy, I don't think I can take the job. And when you state your values to them upfront, then they know this is the type of person that I'm dealing with. If I lose it, well and good, I'll know this is not an organization I want to associate myself with. So that for me would be the way I'd handle it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All three had different reasons, of why the decision you made the decision. And they're not wrong. And this is where I said it comes from a point of what you as an individual, what is your value system? Yeah. What is it that you consider dilemma? For some people, putting this as forward as, by the way, you've been out of a job, now you have a job, this is what you do, is not a dilemma. They're like, I've done this in the past, it has served me well, right? So I will take the job. Whether I owe someone or they owe me, it's okay, right? But then it comes from what position have they been able to make that decision? Because if you've been out of a job, extend and say it's been a year. It's been a year out of a job, you have a young family, your partner is looking at you like you can't just be sitting in their house and doing nothing, then what then happens? Do you then say, versus 0 shillings versus now maybe 100K or 90K, I'll rather that 90K in my pocket because I have, bills to pay. So again, it's a dilemma. Every person will respond very differently. But as Caroline said, and I think even Thando, actually all of you, it's like, if this was not on, if it was, I think if you're presented then with the information beforehand, it's like, I'll give you this, I'll pass on your CV. And for me passing on this CV, you need to give me X if you get the job. From the onset, you know what the deal is. So you're not even being blindsided, right? So when you get the job, you're like, okay, fine, here's your cut, right? So it's the same way, like you have, so you have legitimate brokers, like if you're buying a house, who will say, those are the estate people, who will say they look for you a tenant or they look for you a house and you pay them for getting this house. So that is legitimately in the industry as in the build industry. But then you have the ones of, for me to introduce you to the agent, and also you need to pay me. So, so again, you're like, do I need that introduction or do I not need that introduction? Again, it depends on what you're after as well, right? So it is actually important, as I said, and I said it at the beginning, the decisions that you made is definitely based on a value proposition that you have and your value system, but it also depends on where you are in your career and in life, right? So there's a lady in the chat from Mane who says it has happened to her very early in her career. She had to return 50% of the amount that she got into her account. They said this was to help pay for volunteers. You see, so it does happen. It does happen. Maybe she didn't even know about it. And then she's been told, now, thanks, but no thanks, and now give us back this money. Fumane, I'd like to actually maybe if you don't mind, was it just one time? Was it recurrent? And how long did you stay in the company that you worked in?
As for money and mute her mic, we are done with time, Tasha.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so it just happened out of the blue. So we will get this short-term contracts, as it was a very grassroots organization, and you would sign for maybe 6 months, and they'll say, okay, the overall salary is 13,000 rands a month, and then at the end of the month you're suddenly told, okay, you need to bring back 6.5. And it wasn't negotiated, and when you were I entered the organization as a volunteer, but I worked my way up to being part of the staff. But obviously it wasn't staff, because there were core members who got their full salaries. But it was like, oh, we're doing you a favor. But I think that got me to thinking our values are misaligned. It felt like fraud to me. Because I had signed a contract that said you'd get 13,000 rands. And then, but you get in 6.5. I eventually left the organization, I think after around 6 months after that incident. Yeah. And actually got a better job where my values were very aligned. Yeah. And it launched me into public health. So yeah, I am grateful for that experience. It had to happen, but it had me face my value and my values as we've been discussing. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's as I said, it depends on where you are to actually then have that, your presence of mind to actually say, this is actually not correct, right? And how long will you stay? Then you actually walk away. And then I think it's even maybe in that time for you was a self-negotiation. You're like, I need this money. So 6.5 isn't that bad because I had 0. But you're like, I signed 13. So, because it ends up being on paper it's 13, in your bank is 6.5. Who will believe you? And how will you be like Thando, who will be like, I'm spotting a light? Anyone who is lying to me will be on socials. But then it depends also the career that you're growing, guys. Like, unfortunately, when you hear of the stories of you're blacklisted, you're like, this young person in this hospital is a nonsense. There are always, red flags everywhere, and they would not want to work with you. And it's not because you're not ethical. It's just because you're marked as troublesome, right? And I'll give you, as I wind up, Lucy, I'll give you an example of a lady who, in one of my cohorts, so when we had reached this last module of values, ethics and values in decision making, and it all came in full circle. So she says that she was in her company, she had been put in the audit, I think like audit procurement committee. So for any projects that came through, they come through their committee and that they assess. So in her position, she was the advantage of knowing the cost of some of these things. So she used to then look at spreadsheets and she's like, hey, this item is like 10 times more, or this item is 3 times more, or in terms of cost and quantity that was being required, right? So she used to flag and say, this is a small project. So it's not meant to cost, for example, 500,000. It's meant to cost actually 300,000, meaning that you have actually, you're actually over budgeting, or you're asking for too much more than you're meant to. So she was marked as troublesome, and eventually she was kicked out of the committee, not of the company, but of the committee for new projects. So she tells us, funny thing, the lead person to kick her out of that said committee calls her on the side and says, by the way, I have a project, personal project, that I want you to manage, right? Right? As in, I want you now, I have a personal project and this is what I need you to do. So she's like, for company, you're okay for me to not flag, but you want me in your personal project because you know you're not going to be cheated in terms of what you're going to spend. So he told her that. So when we were discussing it as a group, we said, that is your personal value. And people knew. So you are not in the right circle when it was at work, but for sure they'll call you for jobs which are for themselves because they knew you're very honest in what you're planning and what you're going to plan. So, it's one of those things where you're like, and something that as ladies you need to then decide on. Are you going to align your personal values with work, and make sure that the organization that you work for align with your personal values and society at large? Or would you be like, this societal value does not sit well with me because it is not correct, right? So in some countries, they're like, men are the only ones who are meant to do X, Y, Z. Then you're like, no. My generation of ladies do not assign to that. And I will now be against that value, even if it is a societal value. So again, that's where now, in terms of your experience, the support that you have, the village that you spoke about, your way of communicating and convincing people to join your side of the argument is also important. But all those other things that we've also then spoken about, from building trust, when we are actually building trust to yourself, you need to trust yourself. You need to have people around you that you can trust. So your village is very important. I have very many villagers for different things. So I have my villagers for work stuff. I have my villagers for family stuff. I have my villagers of just, I want something, nothing to do with all those things, because there are too many titles as women that we hold. So they don't have to be the same village. From that, we need to know we are leaders. Some ladies are leaders without knowing they're leaders. You do not have to have a title, by the way, to be a leader. Yeah. If you're in a family, let me speak to the ladies who are probably the sister or the first girl in that home. You're a leader by default, whether you want to be a leader or not, right? So even in your family situations, you need to step into that power. It may have been given to you, it may have been not given to you, but there are sometimes, I think, leadership, you'll even see yourself, you're like, no one is handling this, I'll handle it. Imagine, it's easier not to fight against that space that you have been given. Then we spoke about how we communicate. So the power of the art of communication, who we are communicating to, what we are communicating, has to be clear, because otherwise there's no way you're going to convince someone to do something. You're not going to convince someone that this is the right way that we need to do. Communication is verbal, it is written, it is non-verbal. So I can be telling you something with a smile on my face, but what I'm telling you is like cutting you into little, threads, right? So you need to know how we meant to communicate. What do we want from that communication, right? Then we moved on to negotiation. It's a very strong link between how we communicate and negotiate. I did mention, and when in our discussion, when even Neo was saying, we negotiate all the time. We've been negotiating since we were kids with our parents or with our caregivers. From negotiation of watching TV, I do not want to do homework. That's negotiation. If you've forgotten negotiation, please look for the small people around you, whether it's your nieces, your nephews, your children. Just sit in a room and listen to them. They're negotiating with big people, grown-ups. They're negotiating amongst themselves when it comes to maybe playing games and things like that. Negotiating even whether who's showering first, those are negotiations, right? But you don't necessarily put that term negotiation, that they are negotiating. So there are some characters. I have a nephew who is a brilliant negotiator with a poker face, all of whom who is like 9 years old. Let me tell you, if he was gonna sell sand to the guys in the desert, he will, just because of the way he is, and he's only 9, right? So from there, then we moved on now to the fact that we are all leaders. We're all leaders. Now it's a decision of public leadership, how that goes about, how we're meant to do it. And then finally, Unit 6, which we just finished, about ethics and values in decision making. We've heard from yourselves what you'll be able to do. I gave you a small scenario. It is not, I was making it up, but one of our ladies actually did happen to her. So it is not something out of the blue. Many of us face dilemmas. I do hope that those dilemmas, you have someone that you can actually speak to, think through scenarios of, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. If I say this, this is what I'm going to do. I think it's always important to have a sounding board in amongst the people that you're around with, and a sounding board that is not judgmental, right? It is not someone that you'll say and then they say, this is what you have to do, because that is what they would want you to do. It may not necessarily sit well with you because your values are not necessarily exactly the same as that person, or your experience as well is not exactly the same as that person. So before we end, I would like to give an opportunity if there are any questions, clarifications. I will let you know what we need to do post this training session. There's also a link for the training feedback to give us for the training session that you've done. I want to sincerely apologize for the circle issues that we had. But you still got to discuss. There were at some point over 100 of us on this call, and that's why we went into YouTube. But I do apologize for that. But if any questions you have, please put them on the chat. Then Lucy will moderate those. But what I want to tell you is what happens next. Thank you for surviving for 3 hours for this session. I really do hope it was useful. I really do hope as now mentors, you have gotten an idea of what mentoring within G4G is, right? Mentoring is an experience. So it is not that we have given you 100% of what you're going to experience. You have to go through it. My mentorship journey and that of Lucy is very different. She has said she has enjoyed being a cohort leader, and being a mentor, and so have I. But the frequency is also very different. So what we ask, because you have signed up to be a mentor at G4G, is that at least you'll do one cohort per year, right? Don't do this training and say, yep, I'm a G4G trainer. Mentor, and I'm done. Put it into practice. When you do put it into practice, you'll be able to actually share your stories. As you've had, we have very many stories. We've been having to pull them back. There are many stories that you'll get as mentors. You learn so much from your mentees. So that your country coordinators will put you in a WhatsApp group of other mentors, existing mentors. They will also share with you cohorts that are coming up in your countries. The advantage, the fact that we have virtual cohorts as well, is that you still have an opportunity to mentor in a cohort that does not necessarily, it could have been created from your country, but you do not necessarily have to live in that country. So I have been in a cohort in which I had mentors, mentors from Uganda. There's a lady who used to live in, she's a Kenyan but lived in America. So she also used to dial in because it was a virtual one. So boundaries we're boundaryless, so to speak, depending obviously on if it is a virtual. If it is a virtual cohort, then you'll be able to link up any which way how. The other thing that I'd like you to remind you of is that imagine just sign up. Don't wait for another training to say, oh, I need a refresher. Then I need another refresher. Then just do you. Just it's March. It's March tomorrow. If there's a cohort starting up, just say I'm the one. What we actually assure you is that you're paired with mentors who have mentored before, right? So I call them experienced mentors, but in G4G language, they probably have just mentored twice before you. So it's not that you're going to join a lady who has been like, I've done this 5 times and it's a breeze. It'll be you and someone who probably just 2 times more than you. So you'll walk the journey together so that then as you walk together, you learn from each other. Then eventually you're able to actually run your own circle. So there are circles, there are cohorts, and then it's just, the way we are at now. Lucy, do you want to close for us? I have not seen any questions?
Exactly, there are none, but I will have a check in a minute, Tasha. I just wanted to recap that when we started our session, we were at 85. And when we ran our survey online, we had Botswana with 28 participants, Uganda with 12, Kenya with 7, South Africa with 4, Sudan with 2, Italy with 1, Lesotho 1, and Nigeria 1. And the expectations of today, so ladies, you can just check in back with your expectations to learn, to grow, to be empowered, to have clarity, confidence, purpose, to have fun. Again, positive engagement, to connect and share experiences with sisters from around the world, to refresh, to be empowered, to be a best mentor to my sisters, and for purposes and growth. I've repeated that one. And I believe, Tasha, that we have managed to deliver this. And we are going to wait to hear from the lovely feedback forms that you're going to be filling out just now and sending out. Remember what I said, when you're a mentor, you try to get the mentees to fill it out in real time and while it is still hot. So I just wanted to share that. Tasha, as I look at the chat, no questions. No questions.
Caroline
Sarah
has put up her hand.
Sarah says, okay, we'll get to Caroline. Sarah says, thank you for this platform. I have really enjoyed the session. And who was next after that? Shepiso says, thank you for this insightful session. I cannot wait to start the journey. Yes, 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 good. Badu, you came back. You lost network. You're most welcome. Welcome. Caroline, you say thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session and I have learned a lot. This is the beginning of a great thing for me, and I believe for the ladies in here as well. Thank you so much, Caroline. Pauline, thank you for the insightful session today. Magadi, thank you so much to all speakers for the time you put into this session to be a success. It was insightful. Whoa, look at you, Badu again. You're back here. Thank you so much, ladies. That was it from me, Tasha. Maybe you can take up Caroline's question.
Sure. Caroline, your question?
I was just asking about the handbook, or that is in the next steps we're going to receive from the WhatsApp groups.
Yeah, so you'll get a e-copy, at least for Kenya. You'll get them from your country leads. So if you're in Kenya, the lady who's been working behind the scenes for us is Miriam. So you'll get communication from her. But I'm so glad that you've been able to join us. I'll put the circle names that I was able to note down, and someone else also helped me note down. So I just want you to remember them. You know, they were Queens, Apples of Gold, Sparkles, Nexus, Conquerors, Inspired, Unshaken Collective, The Safe Space, Super Ladies, She Shares. There are a few who hadn't given, so there are some circles I didn't get their names, but then I think this is what then G4G is a positivity that we want other people to get. A positivity that if you're stepping in and stepping up as a mentor, please do that with your whole self, right? So that then the experience, your own experience as a mentor, and those that you mentor is good. If it is not good, also let the leadership in your country know, so that you can continually improve it, right? We do not want what Alan calls as, what does she call them? Touring mentors or roaming mentors, where you're like, yeah, I'll mentor, I'm excited, and then you're like, nothing, right? So at least I'd want you to try and mentor first. The other thing as well, you'll check in with your countries, is that every country should have an onboarding session. And an onboarding session is a session in which you'll be given the specifics for your country. So in terms of how often they do the cohorts, how you register for the cohorts, other activities that G4G happens within G4G. So there are some countries that have fireside chats every so often. There's some that have book clubs. There's some that I think have like walk and talks in the park, depending on what you're doing. There's some social events as well you can plug into. So there are different ways to plug into G4G. Encourage those as well, maybe young people around you or older ladies who want to be mentored. Encourage them to sign up to the next cohort that is available in your country. And I think there are also links on our socials to do that. So they'll be put in wherever they are. As you had, Lucy did mention countries not necessarily from within, and maybe 1 or 2 representatives. So that means if you also want to start a cohort in your country, a physical one, again, link back to your country coordinator and they'll assist you they'll guide you through how you can do a small circle with the G4G principles around. So everyone is just saying thank you. So do I assume we don't have any questions, or you're tired of hearing my voice?
I believe we're good to go, Tasha, and we can close off now.
Okay. So before we close, I just want to do an appreciation for all of you ladies who signed up for the session. I also want to just recognize